Так. Чекай, що я... Секундочку. Так. То я буду... Так, чекай, що я мав робити? Значить, так. Так, лів, так. То я сюди заходжу, так? Так, то я взяв, то я взяв, то я взяв. Так, значить, тепер Tire Screen. Да, так, тепер зайшов партію. Так, значить. Так, One Window. Okay. So what about now? Hello, can you hear me? Hello, audio and video is good? Good, good. So, for today, my plan to continue the match between Alexander Alekhine and Max Euwe. I will start from game 23. After game 22, the score is equal. So, according to reglement, they played 30 games. So, after game 22, 8 games left. So, in game 23, Alexander Alekhine playing with white and played d4. Slav defense. D takes c4 again. In previous games, we have seen a4, bishop f5, knight e5 line. But now e3 was choice of Alekhine, less aggressive choice. b5, a4, b4. Knight b1 playing Alekhine. Knight a2 is possible to take back immediately the pawn. c4, but okay. After e6, bishop takes c4, a5, castle, bishop b7. Black has quite comfortable game, and typical plan for black in this position to prepare c5, knight bd7, c5 is coming. White needs some time to develop his knight from a2, so bishop d2, knight c1, knight b3, but it doesn't bring any advantage for white. So Alekhine played knight b1, and now if black play e6, knight on b1 is more comfortable than on a2, but well, now black can protect his pawn. So after knight a2, black cannot protect pawn c4 because also pawn b4 standing. But now it's, after knight b1, it's different situation, and Max Euwe played bishop a6, principal choice. Bishop e2 played Alekhine, e6, knight e5, bishop e7. So black's just developing pieces. I don't know if there are any other logical possibilities here. For example, knight e5 immediately possible to consider, but probably anyway black can play e6, and after knight takes c4, even c5 is possible with active contraplay. Bishop takes c4 is hardly good. So if white plays bishop e2, it's same game. Same position is in the game. So bishop e2 is 6, knight e5, bishop e7, like Max maybe possible. Also play c5, if bishop f3, knight b5, but this is looks like more sharp game. So bishop e7, castle, castle, knight takes c4, knight d2 is possible, but after knight d2 c3, and white will need some time to take back this pawn. Black has good chances in this position. Consider, however, bishop a6, if c takes d2, bishop b7, d takes c1, rook takes c1. This position looks quite good for white because black cannot protect his rook. If knight bd7, for example, knight takes c6 is coming, queen e8, bishop takes, and black lost material. But after knight a6, bishop a6, I mean, black can take on a6 simply. And the problem for white is that after knight takes c6, c takes d2 is possible. Black will have three pieces against queen. For example, this. Who will take? So if queen takes, black will take with rook from a8, and after queen c6, knight b8 is possible. Interesting position, frankly. Take with queen. Okay, take with rook probably more natural, but after rook f d8, now if rook c6, black has knight b8 or even knight c5 is possible. So probably knight d2 is more interesting, by the way, because three pieces probably stronger than queen in this variation, but white has extra pawns, so knight d2 looks like a very promising possibility. because white wants to take with knight. For example, if c5 I will take, and my knight e5 still in active position. For example, takes, takes. Okay, white has isolated pawn, but pieces are active. Of course, bishop b7 is possible to prepare knight c6, something like this. Окей. По-перше, доброго вечора. Так, не тільки вам, а всім, хто мене слухає з України. І всього найкращого. Знаєте, тут сама постановка питання. Sorry, I need to answer in Ukrainian language, but then I will translate same in English. Ви знаєте, от ви кажете, Макса Ейве називають випадковим чемпіоном. Питання, хто називає? Тому що говорити можна взагалі все, що завгодно, але є якісь об'єктивні фактори, що чому випадково? Що Ейве в офіційному матчі на першість світу зуміг перемогти Олександра Альохіна. Причому то не був там матч там, з 2 партій, чи з 4, чи навіть з 6. То все-таки 30 партій грали матч. То був серйозний матч. І так, щоб то сталося зовсім випадково, тяжко уявити. Тим більше слід відзначити, що в ході матча Ейве продемонстрував я би сказав, шикарні бійцівські якості, тому що він дуже багато разів відставав в рахунку, навіть значно відставав. Я не пам'ятаю, по-моєму, навіть в 3 очка відставав в якісь моменти. Ну, а 2 досить кілька раз точно. Навіть після 19-ї партії рахунок, перевага в рахунку була в 2 очки на користь Альохіна. І все-таки зуміти виграти матч, то це не може бути такої чистої води випадковості. І слід відзначити, що Ейве зіграв 3 матчі з Альохіним. В 37-му році Альохіну вдалося відвоювати назад своє звання. Але ще до того, значно раніше, в 26-му році, вони зіграли матч. То не був матч на першість світу, але то Альохін готувався до матчу з Капабланкою, і то був матч з 10 партій. І Альохіну вдалося перемогти, але таки в дуже серйозній боротьбі, лише в 1 очко. Ну і взагалі, звичайно, десь, якщо по сумі результатів, то можна сказати, що Ейве не мав таких результатів видатних в матчах і в турнірах теж, як, наприклад, Ботвіннік, як, наприклад, Смислов. Але все-таки він зумів мобілізувати свою волю на боротьбу за шаховий титул в певний період. І можна сказати, що час він був досить незручним суперником для Альохіна, що Альохіну було з ним досить тяжко грати. Крім того, можна сказати, що на свій час Ейве був прекрасно підготовлений теоретично. В плані саме, я маю на увазі теорія дебютів саме. Це, звичайно, не говорить, що в інших стадіях шахів Ейве був слабо підготовлений, ну але я говорю саме про дебютну підготовку, тому що якщо зараз дебютна підготовка багатьох шахістів дійсно на високому рівні, не обов'язково високого рівня, не обов'язково високого рівня шахісти, то тоді далеко не всі так займалися професійно дебютною теорією. Альохін якраз займався тим і, скажімо, то, що він зустрів в особі Ейве серйозного конкурента в плані дебюта, то це теж значно затруднило йому задачу перемогти. А чому так не говорять про Руслана Пономарьова? А чому мають так говорити? Теж свого часу Руслан зумів чесно завоювати цей титул. І потім, якщо в силу різних причин його результати десь знизилися, це зовсім не говорить, що попередній успіх був випадковим. So, it was a question if Euwe won by chance, so it was question if Euwe became world champion just by luck, but I'm not totally agree with this because he beat Alexander Alekhine in long match, 30 games, and many times during the match he had minus score. Even once he was -3, so it was necessary to have excellent fighting spirit to win match in such situation. It couldn't be only by chance. And he had very good opening preparation for this time, and I don't think that it was totally by chance. Okay, so another question was about Bishop f3. Bishop f3 is possible, but I think nothing special. Black can take and play Queen d5, and I'm not sure that White has advantage in this position. Okay, pieces are active, but isolated pawns, so but okay, anyway, knight d2 was very interesting alternative. Probably c5 is the best for black because 3 pieces against queen, I'm not so sure. Probably white is after knight b8 or rook d6 is possible, but rook d6 queen b7 unpleasant. b3 or bishop d2, in which moment b3 or bishop d2? And then rook c1 is coming. Previous where bishop f3 here b3. Okay, b3 bishop d2 is strange because pawn is hanging on d4. b3 positionally risky because c3 square can be weak in future. Black will have plan knight d5, knight c3 to penetrate, so this is playable position for both. Okay, Alekhine took on c4, which looks like less logical a little bit because white is playing with developed pieces, and c5. Very standard and very modern chess, knight bd7. So it's already modern chess. So black is not taking immediately the pawn, but trying to develop pieces and fighting for initiative. Of course, black has other reasonable opportunities like queen d5 or or queen c7 as well. Both is possible. So this move are totally normal. Queen d7. If b3, knight d7, for example. Bishop f3 is possible. Queen takes d1, rook takes d1, knight takes c5. Possible to consider bishop takes, knight takes b3. So it's quite interesting. Rook a2, rook a8. So black has pawn and looks like opening wasn't so good for Alexander Alekhine in this game. But Euwe played knight b7, also very logical move. He wants to take this knight on c5, but c6. Knight c5. Euwe knight b6 looks like interesting position here. Only question how, because white can take. What is this? Maybe this. Knight takes b6. Bishop takes. Okay, maybe also c7 is possible. No, but after c7, my plan was to play rook c8, and after knight b6, just take on b6. Interesting position. Not so clear what white should play, but thinking about bishop f3, if rook a7, a5, if takes, a takes b6, if rook takes a1, b7. But it looks like total rubbish because bishop a6, b8 queen, rook takes b1, and black is winning. So this idea doesn't work. Also after bishop f3, knight d5 is totally possible. If not bishop f3, white can take, but rook takes a6. Then rook takes c7, black has splendid position. So knight b6 was serious alternative. Now knight b6, but now bishop e2 is possible. And if c7, I will take on f1. Probably black is good. If, for example, knight takes, rook takes, rook c8. So knight b6 was quite interesting alternative, yes. But Euwe played knight c5. Also possible queen c7 maybe here. Also. No, no, no. This is not possible because after this queen c2 is coming and black lost the piece. Sorry, queen c7 doesn't work. So Euwe, okay, knight bd7 wasn't only move. Black has queen c7 or queen d5 here. But after knight bd7, c6, knight c5 played max a, also possible was knight b6. Okay, maybe after knight b6, knight bd2 is possible to play solid, but hardly white can pretend for advantage in this position. Black can play, for example, queen c7, knight b6, 8x b6, something like this, and then take back pawn c6 with good position. But okay, knight c5 played max a, logical move. Knight d2, queen c7 he played. Okay, also rook c8 looks like totally logical. Queen c3, when queen c3? What do you mean? When queen c3? Okay, knight bd7, c6, knight c5, knight bd2. So queen c7 played max a, also possible was rook c8. Queen c2. Rook a d8. Again, max a not hurried to take pawn back, which is quite brave decision. Totally possible was to take, and after bishop f3 to play knight d5. Looks like this position is quite comfortable for black, although white can play b3, bishop b2, try to complete his development, although it's not so easy because rook c8 is coming, and after bishop b2, knight takes b3 is coming. So, what white can play? b3 immediately, probably more precise. Maybe. And then bishop b2. Because now white knight is more protected. Now after rook c8, bishop b2, black cannot take on b3 because from e2 white bishop protect his knight. So maybe b3 is more precise, and then bishop b2. Okay. Hard to believe that white has advantage here, but probably they are not wolves yet. Okay, so Max Euwe played rook e8, more active move. Very aggressive. So it looks like he's fighting against b3. And if b3, probably he wants to play knight d5. And after bishop b2, knight c3, something like this. And if white takes twice on c3, bishop f6 is coming. If bishop f3, knight d3, black can fight for it. Again, if white takes twice, bishop f6 is coming. But okay, white can consider takes the knight e4 maybe. It's so clear because white want to take with knight. Knight e5, okay, but this is unclear. So b3 was possible. Well, but probably okay. Probably knight d5. This knight c3. I think it's very logical that Max Euwe planned to play this. Only question how strong it is. Also, we can consider takes, and knight e4 is idea. If queen takes c6, knight takes c3 is coming. Not okay. Position still interesting. Black can just take on e4 and play rook d5, and then bishop will go to b4 to protect the pawn. Rook will go to d8. Black has very interesting compensation. Knight cannot move because of pins. So very interesting and creative position. So b3 was interesting, but Alekhine played bishop f3 firstly. And only after knight d5 he played b3. So in my opinion, b3 immediately was more logical because after knight d5, bishop b2 looks like more logical than bishop f3. But okay, this is very complicated position. Knight b3 here. Knight b3, black can just take on c6 after exchange, and very comfortable position for black. White has problem with development. Bishop d2 is not possible. So bishop f3 played, knight d5, b3 played, and bishop f6. Again, knight c3 was possible with same idea. If bishop b2, knight d3, now this knight e4 is possible, something like this. So bishop f6, a2, takes. Queen c6 finally. Max Euwe took pawns back, pawn back, although it was possible to play in gambit style, just play knight c3. Some kind of domination. So queen c2 probably, because if not queen c2, knight d3 with tempi. So queen c2 probably is the best, and now black can do something interesting. What is white next move? It's a big question. Even e5, e4 has splendid compensation here. But okay, he took pawn back because now he has just a position, but probably knight c3 was more ambitious way, especially with idea f5. Very difficult to play with white because if some rook will go to c1, knight d3 is coming, and e5 is e4 is coming. So very unpleasant situation for white, in my opinion. But okay, so rook d1, queen c7, white took rook takes d5, also possible knight d3, even intermediate move, but well, knight d3 was interesting. If queen c2, black can take with which looks quite unpleasant for white. takes d3, d takes 4. If so, queen b1, but what is this? If e takes d5, knight b2, so white trying to defend. Of course, position looks like ugly for white. Black can even play knight e5, rook c1, knight d6. With excellent perspectives, but probably black has something even better. I don't know. Knight takes f2 is hardly correct. Doesn't work, of course. Queen c3 may be also possible. Yes, queen c3, it's very interesting. And white is in big trouble. Yes, white is in trouble here. So knight d3 was very interesting. E takes d5 maybe was possible as well. Knight is attacked. But now probably queen e5 white can try to simplify the position somehow. But anyway, rook c8, even not queen c8, rook c8 is possible, or maybe more d7. Position. I don't like white's position because d3 is always weak. So e takes d5 was possible. Knight d3 was possible. Also, after queen b1, black can take with rook, and also this position doesn't look promising for white. Okay, but he took with rook, so black is clearly better. e4, rook d3 played Max Euwe. Also possible was knight d3, of course. And then go back with rook with an excellent position. White is in big trouble here. But Euwe played rook d3. Also good. Queen e5. So situation is very unpleasant for Alekhine. But the question, what is the best for black? So Euwe took on e5 and took on d2. Also possible was simply play this and just to improve position, just ask opponent what he wants to do. It's not so easy. Okay, white has some ideas, probably this, knight b1, but because c2 not possible, there is mate in threat, but well, black can just play h6, and after knight takes c3, knight takes d3, and white losing the piece because of pin, or h6 or g6, doesn't matter. So, okay, this is not acceptable for white, but what is acceptable? It's a big question. Okay, maybe this knight e5 somehow, because if rook c3, knight b1 is possible. This is problem for white, for black. They are suffering because mating threat. But okay, rook can go back, and black has splendid position. b3 pawn is very weak. But okay, so we'll see the game. So Euwe took. So he is pawn up also. So black has pawn up and quite a good position. Rook c8 played. Logical, because if immediately f6, white has knight c6. And okay, f6 also was possible. After knight c6, bishop b7 with idea to take on e4. So knight takes b4 looks like more or less forced. And now black can take on e4 immediately. Probably also possible to consider rook b8 here with nice motif. So white cannot protect this because after rook c4, bishop a6 is winning. But okay, so what is the reason it's possible simply take, and black has pawn up and good winning chances. But who knows, maybe rook b8 is even more precise if white cannot protect his pawn. Because if f3 I will take anyway in this rook endgame. If this, I think it will be losing. Yes, it's so this. I think it is losing for white. This rook endgame, black has to will have to pass at pawns. This is losing for white. So f6 was quite great alternative, and bishop it's forced because okay, knight d7, rook c8 is coming. So knight c6 is totally forced move, and now bishop b7. Also b3 is possible, of course. If rook b2, bishop b7. Okay, but bishop b7, knight takes b4, rook b8. And difficult position for white. Rook c8, f4. f6 played Alekhine. Played Euwe, but what is this? Why f6? I'm trying to understand. Okay, f6 is normal move, but why not play b3? Because black has passed a pawn, and now there is threat to play rook c2 somewhere. And, not so easy understand how white can defend against. Okay, immediately rook c2 is not threat, but it's possible to do it after check first. Or rook b2 losing immediately because rook's this. So what white can do against b3 pawn? It's very difficult question. Maybe knight c6, king f8, knight a5, something like this. Try to attack this pawn. But anyway, it doesn't look like a solution. Okay, but probably black has no possibility to win immediately in this position. If rook c3, white has idea rook d8 and rook b8 somehow. Uh, but okay, we can check. So rook c3, also rook b2. But okay, if rook b2, I'm not sure if rook c1 and rook c2, this is maybe not winning. Knight b3. But even here, very likely black can win this. For example, bishop c4, knight c1, king e7, king e3. If e5, king d7. Oh, this. If king d2, for example, king c5, and now king b4 or king d4, both winning. So b3 was a great move, certainly. Black has at least excellent winning chances, but Euwe played f6, knight f3, king f8. Again, b3 was totally possible. And what is wrong with b3? Difficult to understand. Knight d4. Yes, but after knight d4, just bishop c4, so it looks like totally losing for white. Black has only problem for black that they have too many tempting possibilities. And in such situations, sometimes it's easy to make mistake, but well, at least B3 looks like more concrete way to convert advantage, to realize advantage that King F8. But okay, probably King F8 is not so bad at all. But Rook B2 played Alekhine. We'll see what happened. So now pawn is attacked and Max Euwe played Rook C4, Rook B8, Knight D4. White has idea to attack e6 pawn and also knight c6 is threat somehow. So now it's not so easy. So rook c. Okay, probably king f8 was just a bad move because b3 much stronger. But okay, we'll see. Knight d2 played Alekhine. Rook d4, because if not rook d4, white will take the pawn. Knight b3. So probably this trick missed Max Euwe when he played king f8. So now white has a real chances to survive because if rook c4, knight d2 back, and in other case white is ready to go to c5. But okay, still there are some questions. For example, rook d1 is possible and bishop d3 is possible. Knight c5 and just play a5. Okay, I am giving e6 pawn, but my pawn b4 will be quite strong. So knight e6 check, king e7. But now maybe knight takes g7 is possible, because if bishop takes e4, white has rook e2 and I cannot protect my bishop. This is a problem. Okay, not so clear, because black can even consider something like this idea to go with king to c3 somewhere. Or just play king f7, not give the pawn, but king on f7 is less active, so knight c5 now. And something like even king e7 now. So black is much better, but it's not easy. So king e7 looks like more aggressive, because now if knight c5, black king is much more active on e7 than on f7. If knight takes g7, this idea is interesting. This idea to king c5, king c4, king c3, something like this. And, this threat looks like primitive, but what exactly white can do against? This is not an easy question. King e3, king c5. If rook d2, for example, black can just take and play king king c4. And white's still in trouble. Okay, it's difficult to be totally sure that black will win here, but okay, knight e8 we can consider. But bishop takes e4. Knight takes f6, bishop takes g2. White cannot take on... or white can take. Because if b3, knight f6, okay, white has some chances for survive, but it's really dangerous. Bishop c6, then bishop takes a4. Okay, f5, f6 is coming, white has contraplay. King b3, yes, king b3 is possible, yes. F5, king a2, yes, f6, bishop d5, yes. Maybe this is enough for win. But okay, so rook d1 was possible. Euwe took on e4, knight c5. Now rook e1 is only move, rook f1 is only move. And now, okay, white pieces is quite well coordinated, so white has compensation for the pawn. Check. King e7. Rook g8. King d6 played Max Euwe, so question why not king f7. Only explanation that rook d8 is coming. And this idea, or rook c8 with idea rook c7. Because f5 is not idea. Black has rook on f1. So white wants to take to play rook d7 check and then take on a7, something like this. But okay, black can play, for example, a5 simply. It's still good winning chances, although white has much more active pieces than before. But anyway, it's g4 impossible because rook f3, f5 immediately impossible. So what white can do here? Rook d7 and rook a7, but okay, let's see it. Black can take here. Knight takes e6 may be possible if rook e1, king f2. But what is this? Let's see. Rook e1, king f2, rook e6, king g2. This is maybe draw. Because after rook e4, white has f5. F5 king. F5 king takes f5. It's winning. Because this endgame is winning with two passed pawn. Dzień dobry. And if rook takes g7, not possible because rook g4. The simplest way to win. Of course, h5 is winning as well because white cannot protect a4 pawn. So king f7 was a logical idea, and after rook d8 or rook c8 is possible, but this is totally same. I don't see big difference. Also, after rook c8, black has idea simply play rook c1 because after rook c7, king g6, knight takes e6, rook e1 is winning. Or even, okay, rook e1 is winning, so rook takes c7 also gives excellent chances for win. Okay, but now I am not totally sure that this is winning, but anyway, it's chances. So king f7 was good, but king d6. So, okay, in each move, black has good choice, but knight e4 check. So king d6, knight e4, and now Euwe took on d4, went to rook endgame. Why he did it? King c6 is possible, but after king c6, white can consider some move with knight, like knight g3, for example, and then take on g7. White has reasonable contraplay. No, but still, black is better. For example, this check is possible, and then to take on a4. But okay, there is no guarantee that black will win this. For example, king d2, rook takes a4, f5. Somehow, white has some chances for draw. Also, maybe not knight g3. Rook is e1 is threat. Maybe knight c3 is possible as well. If it works, of course. If bishop takes g2, rook takes g7, rook f3 check, king d2. Now white has quite reasonable chances to survive. So Euwe went to rook endgame, but okay, this is rook endgame. He played rook a1, but this is, I think, already is more close to draw. This rook endgame, because white has active rook, and so this rook endgame looks like drawish, but we'll see. h5 he played, rook f7. If f5, white can play rook h7 and attack h pawn, and it should be enough for draw. f5, rook h7, so it looks like, yes, now it's draw. Rook h6, good. g3. Now it's totally drawish. Rook a3 was totally possible, for example. So draw, but okay, so very tough game for Alekhine. So he suffered from the opening, and only some mistakes of Max Euwe in endgame allowed him to survive in this game. Okay, so it was game 23. Another games from this match. Okay, I demonstrated already first 22 games, so now game 23. Today I will demonstrate also 24 and 25, and of course I will annotate final match, final games of this match, final 5 games. This game, I cannot tell that well played by Max Euwe, because, okay, well played in opening and middle game he outplayed, but in end game, which was probably objectively winning, or at least with very big chances for win, he made some mistakes and allowed his opponent to survive. So okay, so let's see next one. So next one, Alekhine was black, Max Euwe was white. And we will see what happened. So Alekhine played e6, so he's provoking to play French defense. Okay, we have seen many times French defense in this match, but in all games when we have seen French defense, Alekhine was white, Euwe was black. So Euwe played c4, f5 played Alekhine, Dutch defense. So in previous game he played Nimzo Indian, knight c6 line. Knight f3 played Max Euwe. As I explained it, e3 is also possible here. This idea if e5 takes a3, or also bishop d2 is possible with idea to play a3 and take with bishop in case if black is taken. Okay, probably after bishop d2, however, black can play d6, and after a3 to play bishop c5. Queen a4 check, not dangerous because knight c6, a3, bishop c5, b4, bishop b6. Not allow exchange bishop. So a3 was my recommendation. After bishop takes c3, queen takes c3, d6, knight f3. This position. And probably knight takes f3 is dangerous because white will have rook g1 and b3, bishop b2. Probably best is queen e7, and white is slightly better here. But okay, so f5 played Alekhine, g3, bishop b4. Okay, bishop g4, b4 is possible, but more common line here is to play knight f6 and bishop g play c6 and then d5 Stoneval. Idea of c6, d5 immediately also possible, but after d5 knight h6, for example, c6 castle, bishop f4. This is what I want. So c6 is more flexible because now if knight h3, black has possibility to play d6 and prepare e5. It's also playable for white, of course, but it's a little bit different game. So knight c5. And if white plays knight f3, d5, castle, bishop d6, classical Stoneval position. Also bishop f4 is possible. Not allow bishop. Okay, bishop d6 is possible, but bishop with d6 is exchanged. So I see that Bartlomiej Maciej, Polish grandmaster, played bishop f4 in this position. This idea, if bishop d6 to exchange bishops, and if bishop e7, okay, on e7 bishop is less active than on d6. Also, position is playable for black. Well, for white, of course, as well. White can play knight c3, for example. c5 usually in this pawn structure is not so good plan because after c5 for black is more easy to prepare e5 or something like this, and then g5 even, or bishop f6, e5 in some moments. So usually idea to play c5 is not so good for white. Even sometimes black is playing in this move order, for example, with this g3, d5, bishop g2. So now c6 is totally normal move, but also black can play bishop d6 provocative move with idea to provoke c5 and then go back to e7. So now even with extra tempi, c5 is not so clear. So bishop d6 is idea to avoid bishop f4, which Maciej played. But okay, so bishop b4, it's possible line. I also played this line against David Navarro, but after bishop d2, I played a5. This was idea. Bishop g2, knight f6, knight f3, castle, castle, b6. This was my idea, but objectively, white has a more pleasant position after simple knight a5, rook e7, knight c3. Bishop g5, where bishop g5? Hello. And after this, d6, knight c3, position is more pleasant for white. Also possible, of course, knight d2 line is also possible, but after knight d2, anyway, the best strategy for black is to play a5, knight f3, and b6, something like this. If knight b5, rook a7, prepare bishop b7. So 2, but Alekhine has totally different plan. He played bishop e7 range. So bishop g2, knight f6, knight c3, okay. Castle, knight f3, knight e4. It is really strange if compare with Queen's Indian, modern Queen's Indian, because after knight f6, c4, e6, knight f3, b6, g3, bishop b7, bishop g2, bishop e7, knight is one of the most aggressive line for white in this position. But if compare this game, white is doing black has pawn on f5, but black lost tempo, bishop b4 and bishop e7. So I don't like this opening idea. Yes, f5 is possible, but now there is difference. This position can be with castle first. So, for example, castle, castle, now knight c3, knight e4, bishop e2, and now f5. This idea to prepare white e5 has bishop f6. And now if queen c2, white attacking the knight, black can and black is pawn up. Here, although white has very serious compensation, for example, after this, bishop e5, d6, bishop f4, and then rook fd1 and rook c1. White has compensation, but okay, black has pawn up. But if do it without castle, important difference, because if now f5, bishop f6, queen c2, black idea, because after bishop c3, pawn g7 is hanging. So this is important difference. But okay, black can try, if knight c3, not play immediately knight e4, but to play castle. If d5, bishop b4, black has contact game against Anatoly Karpov. I was black. So you can see if you are interested. And only after castle, knight e4, bishop d2, f5. If black wants to play with f5. Also possible bishop f6. But if in this position, it's better, if without castle, better for black play bishop f6 immediately. Because now d5 is stopped. Black can take on c3. Rook c1 is possible, but after rook c1, bishop takes d4. Knight takes d4, knight takes c3, bishop b7, knight takes d1. This is a theoretical line. Now rook takes d1 is main move. c6, the best move. Idea if bishop takes a8, if bishop a8, knight a6 is possible. If bishop b7, knight c5. So 6 played Anatoly Karpov against Valery Salov, castle. Now c5 is threat. It's important. So for example, if white just castle, black can play c5. And but sorry, no, c5 no. As c5, white can just play knight f3. No, c5 is better. So if castle, because I remember Karpov played this against Salov. Rook e8 played Salov, bishop takes a8 played Karpov. Now if castle, black has threat to play c5, and now after knight f3, knight if bishop a8, c takes d4, of course. So Karpov took on a8, queen c8. Now knight a6 is threat. b4, knight a6, b5. It was game Karpov-Salov. So Salov took the bishop. B takes a6, c5, knight f3, queen e4. White has material advantage, but many weak pawns. So black wants to take on c4. Karpov played rook c1. Now queen c6. If bishop is coming, if bishop goes d5 is coming. So after rook d1, black can make draw already with move repetition. Salov played different move and finally wins the game, but it was unclear. But what is problem with castle? I want to understand what is the problem here for white. We need to think. Queen e7. But queen e7 just knight f3. So why not immediately castle? I don't know. Maybe with idea bishop takes a8, queen c8. And then knight a6 somehow. Who knows? Maybe it's possible. White should take because rook c7 is coming. So queen c8. And now after bishop d6, black has choice. So maybe rook d8 is better than rook e8. What is this? Looks like totally unclear for me. For example, rook d3 is possible. If knight a6, rook b3, queen takes a8, rook takes b6. Probably white is good now. But okay, it's not clear. Knight b4. If a3, queen a7 is possible. And suddenly white has problem with his rook. Because if bishop c5, knight a6, if c5, knight d5. But I want to understand if in game Karpov-Salov, so bishop d6, rook e8, he took, yes. Now after castle he has c5. Or also he has a5. Okay, c5 is more simple, of course. And then knight c6, but a5 may be possible, but probably rook is worse on e8 than on d8, because in some variation but sorry, I made mistake, looks like. I mean, just a moment. So a5, this, queen c8, bishop d6, black should play rook e8 actually, because rook d8 is just mistake. After rook d8, white can just take here and take on c6 with bishop, and black cannot take bishop because they are losing immediately. So here only e5, but after e5, white is clearly better. Maybe bishop d7 is possible. The simplest way is this. So white is just winning. Because if this knight e7 and knight c6, so rook d8 is impossible, so rook e8 is only move. But what is this? Interesting position, by the way. So rook d3, knight a6, it's not clear. Rook a3. So rook d3, same idea. Knight a6, rook b3 takes, rook b6, queen, knight b4 now. Okay, but maybe white can try e4. If e4, c5 probably. And then queen takes e4. So black has reasonable contraplay. Okay, so this is another story. Let's come back to our heroes. So if he played bishop b4. Okay, idea is famous also in Catalan. So black is playing this, but this is a different position. Reason of this maneuver instead of natural bishop e7 is that white cannot to make fianchetto in future. For example, after bishop g2, castle c6, white cannot play b3 and then bishop b2. So this is a reason of provoke bishop to d2. Okay, thank you very much. Of course, I played against Jan Timman many times. So in one of my report, I can demonstrate some of games between me and Jan Timman. Many games I played. Even I played match against him in 1991 in which was city. It wasn't Utrecht, but it wasn't Amsterdam as well. I don't remember which city it was. Hilversum, yes. I played in Hilversum, match against Jan Timman, and I won this match. Okay, so f5, g3, knight f6, knight f3, castle, bishop f6. So if compare with theoretical position, black just lost tempi and white has a comfortable game. Only question how to realize this. Okay, queen c2 looks very logical. Immediately attack after knight takes d2, queen takes d2, and white is ready to play e4. Yes, Jan Timman's very interesting. White is much stronger in the centrum. For example, if d6, rook a d1, firstly not allow e5, and e4 is ready. So it was the most logical way for white, but Euwe took on e4, it's also possible, but queen c2, rook c1, another logical idea, but now d6, and now not so clear what is next move. Was the most logical in my opinion. Five, this type of Stonival looks like extremely strange. Okay, maybe it's possible, but hardly can be. Okay, maybe this is best practical chance for black. Bishop f5 idea of Alekhine to play d5 here, but anyway, looks strange somehow. Like, for example, this. If knight c6, bishop e3, it's very strange. Okay, so Euwe took on e4. There are other Okay, so my match against Team. Okay, I will prepare this for next report. This game match. So knight takes e4 took max play. Concrete idea. Bishop takes d4 played Alekhine. So what we see? Black took the pawn. And pawn b2 if bishop b4 c5 is possible. Although it's far from clear, so white can consider this, in my opinion. After c5, white has bishop a3, for example. Maybe this is strange, but okay. There is idea to play e3 or to play knight c2. So interesting and creative position. Queen f6 may be possible, but I know that black's idea to take on f2. For example, this g2 bishop is under attack. Somehow black knight did looks like this was possible, but okay, after bishop is b4, probably black can also consider this. Rook b1, bishop f6, bishop takes, queen f8. This okay, but white is better here because black has problem with development. So c5 is principal, but bishop a3, and what to do? Frankly speaking, I like this position for white. But maybe e3 is possible. Maybe e3 is possible. But well, knight c2. Of course, it's much more easy to sit in comfortable chair and propose such a complicated variations than to play it in World Championship match against Alexander Alekhine. But okay, bishop b4 was interesting idea, in my opinion. Okay, Max Euwe took on e4, Alekhine took on b2. Now white has choice again. So he played bishop takes h7. He took pawn back. Probably there are other interesting possibilities in this position. Rook b1 looks very logical, but after rook b1, bishop f6, I think, idea of Alekhine. And now black is ready to play knight c6, so white can take immediately on b7. Also is possible to play firstly queen c2 to provoke some weakness. Maybe this is even the best, because g6 is weak. If h6, white has ideas like this, and knight f4, and then bishop h7 in some moment. If knight d4, queen d3, so it was promising for white. Of course, it's possible just take on b7 instead of queen c2, but I'm not sure if white has real advantage here. But okay, knight d3, for example. Rook b8. Okay, now probably black has good chances to equalize. So queen c2 looks like more principal. And after h6, knight g2 with strong initiative. Yes. But Euwe took on h7. He took pawn back. Knight c6. Position is simplified. Now, without light color bishop, black king is not so weak, and black has plan to prepare d6, e5, and And bishop h3 try to find some contraplay against white king. So now it's not clear that white is better. Okay, but of course black firstly should finish his development. Okay, so what I think of Euwe, quite interesting player. I have seen many of his games. I have, in general, I have a good impression about him, like player. I know that Mamedyarov likes very much Max Euwe. Okay, probably it's reasonable, and style of Mamedyarov is quite similar to style of Max Euwe, in my opinion. So if Alekhine was drunk, okay, hard to believe that. Okay, they played 30 games, and it were many free days. So uh, hard to believe that Alekhine could be drunk during more than 2 months. Okay, probably sometimes he, he drink a little bit, but I don't believe that it was something regular at least. But okay, I wasn't witness. But I need to admit that the level which demonstrated Alekhine in this match was quite good. Of course, some games was bad. That's true, but in general, level of games and opening preparation of both was in very high level, especially compare with modern time, quite high level. But for that time, it was fantastic. Was what they demonstrated. Okay, let's see. So knight f3, d6, c5. Very concrete play in style of Garry Kasparov. Okay, I don't know. Is it the best? So bishop h7. It's big question. Mm, that this is the best idea. But now, okay, white needs to do something. What is the best? Difficult to say. For example, very reasonable feels like f6, maybe queen c2 with idea bishop g5. So it's logical plan. Position is sharp. Black king is also weak. And if e5 and bishop e3, white can consider even queen takes b7 probably. Also, queen and white win here. Because if rook f7, knight g5 check, if king in h5 check, it's logical. White has quite good position, but Euwe played totally different. So knight f3 he played immediately. So now black has positional plan to play e5 and bishop h3. Also, after bishop h3, black always need to follow queen takes b7, exchange sacrifice. So c5 wasn't necessary, of course. Knight g5 looks like interesting possibility for white, but probably after knight g5, black has queen f6. Now white cannot play bishop c3. Endgame is good for black. If queen c2 or queen b1, for example, queen f5, e4, queen g6. Okay, this is quite complicated game. f4 and then queen d3. So playable position for both. Very sharp position. Not okay. Euwe played c5. He gave the pawn, but d takes c5. So why? Probably he is fighting for e5 square for his knight, but it's I'm not sure this was the best idea, but for sure it was quite brave idea to give a pawn without special reason. Okay, now white has obligation to play very concrete, but it's not so easy. For example, if queen b5, black can take on f3 and take on d2, and d8 square is protected. Of course, after rook d1, black will not take here and allow this drawish mechanism, but black can go back somewhere to g5, for example, so it doesn't work. Okay, so Euwe played bishop c3. Maybe more flexible was to play rook d1 somehow, because bishop can go to c3 or to f4 or to g5, depends what black will play. But there is still question how strong it is. Exchange of white bishop. Okay, maybe not mistake, but probably not the most active opportunity. So I would prefer rook b1. Hello, can you hear me? Can you see me? Hello. Okay, so okay, rook a d1 was possible, but big question if white has any progress after b6. Simple, because bishop can go somewhere, but it doesn't bring special danger for black. So maybe bishop g5 is possible. If queen is e8, bishop f4, this looks like logical idea somehow. But queen e7. Okay, so now probably knight e5, try to attack pawn c7 and try to take it back. But black has contraplay after bishop a6, so it's not so clear. Euwe played bishop c3, queen e7, rook a d1. I don't know if rook a d1 is the best. So if imagine I am white, I would consider more likely to play h4 and then knight g5 and try to prepare some attack against h7. For example, this. Now I even consider bishop takes g7. Okay, probably bishop takes g7 is not a good idea. So queen c2, rook f5, possible. Okay, white can consider something like this. This is looks like totally normal idea. Rook f5 is only move, and now g4. Rook takes g5 is only move. Takes, f3, f3. Complicated position. Black has two pawns against exchange, but okay, white has idea king g2, rook h1, something like this. Try to organize attacks. So this looks like logical for white, more or less. I don't know if this variation is forcing, but okay, e5 doesn't work, so b6 is logical, knight g5. Okay, more or less forcing. So queen c2, rook f5, g4, and just play this position. Okay, it's very unclear position. Totally possible that black is good here, but it's very far from obvious in my opinion. Maybe e5 is the best. But after e5, even queen e4 is possible. So, interesting situation. Max Euwe played rook a d1, b6, queen c2 now, bishop b7, queen g6 immediately. Okay, h4 again looks like logical move. With okay, king g2 somewhere knight can jump and queen takes g4 check. So king g2 probably it's clear if it works at least in all of variation. For example, black can play this. Now king g2 probably just bad because this. But okay, after rook f8, white can play rook d1 simply. And rook d7's threat somehow. Okay, at the moment I need 10 minutes break. I will come back soon. Hello, so I'm here again. Can you hear me and see me? Hello. Unfortunately, I never played against Mikhail Tal, so let's continue. Euwe against Alekhine. So Rook D1 was played, B6, Queen C2, and Queen G6 played. Euwe, maybe H4 was more logical choice. At least deserved serious attention. If Rook F5, Knight G5. The idea to prepare G4 in some move. Okay, it's double-edged position, but it looks like very natural play for white. If knight b4, bishop takes b4. If c takes b4, knight g5. If bishop takes f3, bishop takes c5 is unpleasant. And black pawn structure will be spoiled. So h4 was very logical, but Euwe played queen g6, maybe a little bit premature. Queen f7 played Alekhine. Understandable. He needed to do something against knight g5. Rook f5 maybe also was possible, however. Maybe rook f5 was also possible, but after rook f5, g4, g4, rook f4 maybe. Not so clear. If knight h4, rook g5, so rook f5 was alternative, quite reasonable alternative for black, but queen f7 is understandable. So black wants to exchange queens, and without queens, white cannot organize serious attack, and black pawns in queen's flank will be more dangerous than now. Queen g5 played Max Euwe. Queen g4 was reasonable alternative because I like to have square g5 for the knight. If, for example, rook d8, knight g5 is possible. If queen f5, no, queen f5 is only move. Now queen takes f5, e takes e5, knight e6 we can consider. Rook takes d1, rook takes d1, and position is interesting. If rook f7, white can take on g7, because hardly good for black take the knight. Because bishop takes g7, rook d7 is coming, so knight d4 probably is the best. Takes. Very unclear endgame. Both has their trumps. Knight e6, c5. Who is better here? I don't know. Difficult to say without serious analysis. And of course, this line is not forcing, so instead of knight g5, white can do something else. Maybe even h4 is possible. Not sure, but maybe it's possible. But after h4, however, black has idea to take and knight d4. Probably this is strong. Also white, this is strong. Just take here. Okay, maybe not knight d4. Okay, so maybe knight b4. Strong. So takes and knight b4. Maybe this is better. Now black is ready to take on f3. But okay, even this position is very far from clear, so white can play something like rook d2, if knight d5, bishop e5, something like this. But okay, white lost his initiative somehow, so probably plan with queen g6 wasn't the best. Okay, so he played h4 here. He's doing the same, but with queen on g5. Uh, Queen takes g7 is threat. Where now? Yes, this is threat, but black defending. So queen g4, I already illustrate this line. Although white can try another version. So immediately take on d8 and only now to play knight g5, try to play with queens. After queen f5, queen h5 now. And now g4 is threat somehow. For example, if knight d4, bishop takes d4. Black cannot take with rook, of course, because queen e8 check. And black is losing. After this, just mate. Also, of course, white can take and take on e6, but mate is better. So rook takes d4 is not possible, but if c takes d4, g4 is very unpleasant. And white queen will penetrate into f7 or h7. Okay, maybe this is not so terrible, however, for black. Black can play queen f6. After queen h7, immediately king f8, but okay, f4 is coming. White has idea f5, so attack is continued. d3, however, is possible, so black has contraplay, so it's not so clear. It's a little bit similar to game which Tsvitan played in Euro Cup, recent game. Tsvitan lost because he didn't provoke g4. I recommend to see. I don't remember who was his opponent. Some player from Azerbaijan was white. Ognen Tsvitan was black, and he lost because he allowed this motif queen e6, queen h3, queen h7. He could win to put queen on f5, provoke g4, and then after queen e6, king h8, white has no idea, queen h3 check. So I strongly recommend to see game Tsvitan played with black against player from Azerbaijan. I don't remember who it was exactly. Suleimanli probably, but I'm not totally sure. Okay, so white can try such ideas, but okay, objectively after d3, probably black has enough contraplay for draw. If this, there is direct perpetual check. Okay, but what played Euwe, queen g5, so in my opinion this square for knight, not for queen, and now he played h4, so tactical ideas. Probably Euwe had hope to play knight e5 somehow, and knight takes e5, rook d8, knight f3, and queen takes f3 doesn't work because g7 is attacked. But after knight e5, black can calmly respond queen f5, and white has obligation to exchange queens, which doesn't bring anything good, of course. So probably this motive Max Euwe missed in his previous calculation, and same after rook d8, knight e5, also queen f5 is coming. So h4 he played, but now it's too late and knight d4. So bishop takes d4. White has no choice. Black probably had choice, as I explained that knight b4 also was possible. But okay, if knight d4 is strong, why not? So bishop d4 only move, c takes d4, rook takes d4 only move, bishop f3. Okay, now white has choice. E takes f3 is possible. Then after queen f3, rook d2 or queen d2. So white is pawn down, but because maybe rook d2 is better. Because black bad king, white has chances to survive, although white is better. But Euwe played rook f4, queen h5, so takes. Queen f4 check he played. Queen e8 was possible, but this is same pawn endgame. No big difference where is black king on e8 or on f7. So Euwe took, and after e5 he is just losing because pawn structure is blocked, and black can simply play with their pawns. So black is winning here, but now Euwe played king f1, b5, king e2, and incredible mistake. Alekhine played c5. So instead of c5, after a5, black is clearly winning because now white has no time to play king e3 and f4. If king e3, just a4 is coming. If f4, just take, and b4, and black is winning. So if white cannot play f4, so white has no contraplay, and black can just play with their pawns, and it is for sure a winning position. White cannot defend here. Black can slowly improve position. How? Okay, for example, king d3, a4, king c3, c5, king d3. For example, this king. White can only wait. White has no contraplay, so this king e6. To push pawn only create weakness. So king d5, king d4 is coming. If g4, king easily can go back. This easy win. But Alekhine played c5, and now Alekhine was unlucky because he played c5. Euwe was white, and after king e3, now it's draw because black cannot prevent f4. So, such a strange final of this sharp game. f4 is coming, and this is already draw, so just one move. Okay, but I have 3 games in one. So if you follow just title, yes, Alekhine against Euwe, but I put 3 games together. So in this game, Alekhine was white. Alekhine was black. Alekhine was black, and he was totally winning, but made terrible mistake and lost. So leader, but in this rook f4 was a mistake, we can admit. So after bishop takes f3, after he takes 3, white is bad, but at least they have practical chances to survive. So it's not easy to win yet in this position. But after rook f4, queen h5, so pawn endgame is forced, so white is losing. But Alekhine played c5. And last game for today, game 25, Alekhine white, Euwe black, e6 played Euwe. So not d takes c4 anymore. I don't know why, because in previous game results of opening was excellent for my Euwe after e3, b5, a4, b4. But okay, so he decided to play e6. And bishop g5 played Alekhine. Okay, white choice here. So e3 usually leads to Meran variation. Or anti-Meran, queen c2 if white wants. What else is possible? G3 is also possible. Gambit line. Доброго вечора. Звідки ви? Ваш нік бачу вперше. Щось такого я не пам'ятаю. То ви, впевнено, тут вперше, так? То я говорю до того, хто звернувся українською мовою. Побажав мені гарного вечора. Дякую. G3 is also possible. G3 is favorite line of my neighbor Oleg Romanishin. Okay, but Alekhine played bishop g5. Odessa, дуже приємно. So black has choice. h6 Moscow variation. D takes c4 Botvinnik variation. And knight bd7, which Euwe play. Мене з 10 років ви мене знаєте? Так. Дуже приємно. І хто ж ви, якщо не секрет? And now white has choice. e3 played Alekhine. And after e3, queen a5, Cambridge Spring variation. If white doesn't want to play Cambridge Spring variation, white can just take on d5 and play e3. Play Carlsbad structure, or queen c2 is also possible, maybe even more flexible with idea in some moment to play e4 immediately, especially it is important in this line. Now white can play e4 immediately or castle long and then e4. Because after e3, black can play bishop e7, classical Carlsbad. Also there is modern line which Anish Giri likes to play very much. And after bishop e5, main choice for black, knight f6 back or knight g7. And what else? Another possible move is queen b3 here. I played queen b3 against Icelandic grandmaster Hans Stefansson. Idea of queen b3 that I not allow Cambridge Spring, because if now queen a5, I have bishop d2. This is idea. So this diagonal not closed with b3. So this is idea of queen b3. And after bishop e7, white can develop pieces normally. Now rook c1 or rook d1 or bishop e2. So of course, many games was played after queen b3, so white has 3 alternatives in this position. C takes d5, e3, and queen b3. So e3 played Alekhine, queen a5, c takes d5, another theoretical line is knight d2, bishop b4, or d takes c4, bishop f6, knight f6, knight c4, queen c7, also possible. So bishop b4, queen c2, castle, bishop e2, many theory c5. I played this position. So it was my game against Wojtaszek. Quite fresh game from Magnus tournament. But okay, so c takes d5 took Alekhine. Now usually black is taken with knight, because if take with bishop, white has this and castle, and in this position white has some initiative. h6 is obviously bad because queen h5. So black is usually playing something like this, knight f6, and white can play h3 simply. Idea if bishop d6 to play f4, if castle, knight f3 immediately, or queen c2 firstly, h6, knight f3, and then knight e5. Valery Salov won nice games in this variation with white, but I don't remember against whom. If somebody from you are interested with this, you can check this position and put Valery Salov with white. So he used this plan. h3, f4, and then knight f3, knight e5. Well, knight takes d5, queen d2. Old theory, modern theory, rook c1. So, rook c1 is more popular at the moment, and knight takes c3, main idea, b takes c3, bishop a3, queen takes a2 is very risky, because after bishop d3 and castle, white has more than enough compensation. Black. Okay, so b6 is main line, not immediately b6, sorry, so maybe b6 is possible as well. But usually black plays bishop a3 after rook c2, b6. Now bishop e2, bishop a6, castle. White is ready to play c4, so bishop takes e2. White can take e2 was played. And now knight b6. Another theoretical line is bishop b4, rook c1, c5, or h6 immediately. Bishop h4, c5, a3, takes, b6, c4, takes, knight e7. It was my game against Mamediyarov. So some problem with stream? No problem, okay. No problem with stream. Stream is perfect, okay. So h6 is another line, knight b6 played Max Euwe. Also Harry Kasparov played this line in game 48 in his match against Karpov. No, 47, sorry. In game 47, and he won. It was score 5-1. It was 1984. The score in that moment was 5-1 in favor of Karpov. Garry Kasparov played knight b6, and probably Anatoly wasn't prepared against knight b6. Probably Anatoly just prepared mostly bishop b4. And because of this, Anatoly took on d5 and this endgame. And of course, black is fine in this position. No opening problem. So bishop d3 played Karpov, a5, a4, this, something like this, and black has an excellent position. Okay, of course, knight takes d5 is white is not pretending for advantage. So Alekhine played bishop d3. It's much more aggressive line. Then knight takes d5. It's main line. Knight takes c3. Played Max Euwe. B takes c3. Very natural move, but also interesting that that Evgeny Vladimirov, second of Garry Kasparov, played a3 in this position. It's also very attractive idea. So white not hurried to take knights. For example, if knight a4, white just castle. If knight b2, queen takes b2, white has excellent compensation for the pawn. And another idea, if bishop b4, castle, knight e4, white has idea this. Queen takes a1, bishop takes e4, and white has excellent compensation because dark squares are very weak and white has much better development. This is idea which Evgeny Vladimirov played in this position. На який рейтинг грає тут Альохін? Саме в матчі з Ейве, чи саме в цій партії, що ви маєте конкретно на увазі? Чи взагалі? Що рейтинги взагалі-то почали рахувати з 71-го року. А так, ну, я думаю, якби от Альохіна повернути в сучасні шахи і дати йому ознайомитися з сучасною теорією, ну, то на 2700 точно би грав, як мінімум. Ну, цей матч, ну, залежно яка партія. Ця партія була вдала для Альохіна. Ми ще подивимося, чому так сталося. Ну, цю партію, ну але взагалі от не можна рейтинг шахіста вимірювати по одній партії, тому що взяти взагалі будь-кого, ну, включаючи і мене, звичайно, можна знайти партії, які проведені, ну, зовсім слабо, навіть з самих останніх. Якщо, наприклад, взяти мою партію з Німаном, ну, то не знаю. Навіть не можу з певністю сказати, що я грав ту партію в силу першого розряду. Так. Ну, на другий, напевно, грав все-таки. Ну, так. На перший, якщо то вже з натяжкою. Так. Окей. Ну, а так, самі ж бачите. Тобто, кожна партія, кожен хід має значення. It was question about in which rating approximately played Alekhine this match. Difficult to say, but I think if imagine that Alekhine come back for modern chess and has time to be familiar with modern theory, he could play at least for 2700, in my opinion, maybe even more. So a3 was possible, but b takes c3 is good as well. Knight d5 played Max Euwe. Rook c1. Rook c1, according to my memory, is not the best. So castle is the best main line. And if queen takes c3, just queen e2. So this is main idea, and white has very good compensation for the pawn. So according to my memory, this is correct line. And then also I remember something like this. If bishop e7, somewhere was knight e5 and bishop g5. Probably not in this position, but something like this, I remember. Because just in this position, white can firstly play rook c1. or just take and play with very good compensation because bishop c8 is still not developed. But I remember somehow this idea. But Alekhine played rook c1. This is not the best according to modern theory, so castle is strong. No. Maybe after castle, knight takes c3. I mean this idea, and now knight e5, knight e5. Oh, but now maybe a3 is also possible. Black has no, a3 is very interesting, and black is in danger. If bishop a3, knight e5 is coming. So queen takes c3, queen e2. This is theory, and white has very promising position. But okay, it's not totally clear. Black can try to defend this. Rook c1 played. Knight takes c3, of course. If not take, white is just much stronger in the centrum. Maybe, however, bishop a3 was possible to play. After rook c2, knight takes c3. Idea to provoke rook c2. I'm not sure that rook on c2 is worse than on c1, maybe even better. But also after bishop a3, white can consider this. And then e4 is coming, white has reasonable compensation for exchange. So knight takes c3 is the most logical move, castle, bishop b4. And now I remember I have seen idea knight e5, like recommendation. I didn't check it seriously, but it was recommendation. And if knight e4, queen e2, if knight takes g5, queen h5, something like this. If h6, f4 with attack. But so I have seen such a recommendation in some books about opening. So Alekhine played a3. Or also now this, maybe now, same idea. And if bishop e7, f4 is coming, something like this. But I didn't check this, maybe this is just rubbish, I don't know. Bishop e7, f4, g6, queen h6. What is this? Thanks for subscription. g6, if queen h6, knight e4, maybe just this is just rubbish, maybe white is just losing here. Or maybe I mixed something, also possible. So everything necessary to check. So after queen b3, Alekhine played bishop c2, and after queen d5, black is already 2 pawns up, and compensation is not so obvious. But okay, still fight. Rook fb1 maybe was possible, but a5 not possible because rook takes b4. But maybe c5 is possible, and white cannot take because queen takes d2, knight takes b1. Black could not take immediately because queen is coming. Knight is trapped, but c5 looks like quite strong for black. But Alekhine played e4, knight takes e4, queen takes b4, knight takes g5, so he's already 3 pawns down. So, okay, first rook c1, very dubious move. Maybe not mistake, but dubious move, and later maybe a3 was bad idea. So maybe if play rook c1, it's better to play knight e5. But knight if knight a2, probably knight a2 is possible as well. This queen h5, just g6 is possible. But who knows? Can try. G6, bishop takes g6. Maybe this is rubbish again, but it's complicated for me. This check. King h1 only move. Black can take and play bishop f8. It looks like not enough, because if bishop h6, queen f5 is coming. So knight takes a2 is possible. Maybe. Not okay, white can try just this. Rook c1 and then queen h5 is coming. Some attack, not so easy. For example, if castle, queen h5, g6 now. Queen h6. Unpleasant. Bishop f6 is threat. If rook e8, knight takes f7. Bishop f8, queen h4. White has unpleasant attack. So, okay, maybe knight e5, but this is necessary to check very accurately. So knight e4, queen e2, knight takes g5, queen h5. This. Bishop e7, f4, g6, queen h6, something like this one. I don't know. Okay, but in the game was totally different, so now I don't see anything serious for white. Maybe knight e5 was possible to play. This idea if f6, knight d3. But anyway, c5 is possible. Yes, suddenly black has good coordinated, but Alekhine played e4, knight takes e4, queen b4, knight takes g5. He's 3 pawns down already. If exchange knights, queen takes g5 and queen e7. So black will prepare a castle and will realize. But Alekhine played knight e5, f6. Knight c4 looks like normal move now, but after knight c4, black can just play knight f7 and sorry, knight f7, knight b6. So why not knight c4? So knight f7, knight b6. White winning exchange. So why not knight c4? Euwe played a5 immediately, not f6. If f6, knight c4 was more or less strong. But Euwe played a5, more accurate move. So now he's fighting for castle, because if white queen is leaving diagonal, black can castle. Okay, depends how. Or black can play f6 anyway. So depends where will go white queen. Yes, so if a5 is quite good. If queen a3 Alekhine played, but if other move, probably castle or f6, depends where will go queen. And it looks that 3 pawn is too much. Alekhine played this and f6, very logical move. So knight is attacked. Bishop g6, probably it was hope of Alekhine, but it's just a rubbish, because Euwe simply took. Maybe white is also bad after king d8. Totally possible. But this is much more simple, and after knight takes g6, knight f3 check, game is over. White cannot take with pawn because queen g5 check. So after queen f3, so okay, black has 6 pawns, white has 4 pawns, so 2 pawns up, and white has a very bad pawn structure, so situation is totally hopeless for Alekhine. Okay, it's possible to resign here, but Alekhine still playing. Okay, no chances. Okay, so I don't see special reason to analyze this position. And finally, Max Euwe won this position. So it's 12 o'clock already in Ukraine. Thanks for your attention. Good night. Українцям мирного неба над головою і спокою на душі. Дякую за увагу.